We have some big breaking news now coming in. Financial agencies see green for the Indian economy. According to a report by Ernst Young, India may become the world's second largest economy in purchasing power parity, which is PPP, terms by 2038, with a projected GDP of 34.2 trillion US dollars. This assertion by the EY is based on IMF projections. Among the largest economies, India stands out with a median age of 28.8 years in 2025, the second highest savings rate, and a government debt to GDP ratio projected to decline from 81.3% in 2024 to 75.8% by 2030, unlike its peers, where debt levels are only rising. Citing an IMF report, EY said India's economy could reach 20.7 trillion US dollars PPP by 2030. Compared to the US, China, Germany and Japan, India is uniquely placed, it asserted. EY in a statement said, let me quote some of the lines from the statement here, that while China leads in overall size with a projected 42.2 trillion US dollars economy, PPP by 2030, its aging population and rising debt are challenges. The US remains strong but faces high debt levels exceeding 120% of GDP and slower growth rates. Germany and Japan, though advanced, are constrained by high median ages and heavy reliance on the global trade. So a sense of optimism here for India, as EY has given green for the Indian economy. My colleague Krishna is joining us on the phone line to help us understand this. Krishna, amidst the trade tensions going on between India and the US, this is certainly a good news for India, right?
Absolutely, and this is coming on the back of the fact that Fitch Ratings, the global ratings agency Fitch Ratings, held India's outlook, the credit outlook for India, as BBB minus in terms of stable outlook for India as an economy because of how well it's doing when it's relative to peers and relative to the way the world economy, the global economy is going, how well India and India's economy is showing resilience. This is another testament to that fact. Now it is the turn of EY, and EY says that India may emerge as the second largest economy by the year 2038, and this is in terms of PPP, or purchasing power parity. And that is a very important metric to go by, because you can be a big economy, but if the people in the economy don't have high purchasing power parity, then it is completely pointless. This is a very important metric in which India could become the world's second largest economy, which means that we will be the second Indians living in India. Indian people will have the second highest purchasing power in the world by the year 2038. That's an important assertion coming in from EY in this report, and this assertion by EY is based on projections by the International Monetary Fund, or the IMF. And according to that, among the biggest economies in the world, India stands out with a median age of 28.8 years in the year 2025. Currently, India is one of the youngest countries in the world, and median age of India is 28.8 years only. It also has the second highest savings rate and a government debt to GDP ratio, which is projected to decline from over 81% to just about 75% by the year 2030. So these three factors, which is very different from its peers, and that's making India and India's economy stronger. And that is the reason why India's purchasing power parity is set to be the second highest in the world by the year 2038. Now, EY, citing a report by the International Monetary Fund, or IMF, says that India's economy could be worth $20.7 trillion in terms of purchasing power parity by the year 2030. Compared to the US, China, Germany, and Japan, the EY says India is uniquely placed, because while China is leading in terms of overall size as an economy with $42.2 trillion of an economy in terms of purchasing power parity by the year 2030, it is the aging population of China and its rising debt challenges that is set to pull China down. However, the US remains strong. But even the US has high debt levels exceeding 120% of the GDP and a slower growth rate for its GDP as well. And let's see who else is left. Germany and Japan, they are advanced economies, but they are constrained by high median ages. Again, a highly aging population, and also they have a heavy reliance on global trade and not on local domestic consumption like India does. So that is the reason why if you take all the biggest economies in the world, how is India going to be the second biggest economy, second largest economy by the year 2038? It is because of the fact that it is young, it has a high savings level because Indians are known to save a lot, and also it doesn't have to depend upon global trade alone to drive its economy, because there's so much of domestic consumption and private consumption in India by Indians that itself drives the economy, and that is pretty much the reason why this report has called out India to become the second largest economy in terms of purchasing power parity. India, the report says, combines youthful demographics, rising domestic demand, and a sustainable fiscal outlook. And that is the reason why its long-term growth story is the most favorable in the world at the moment. And that's the clarity emerging from this EY India report. And India's strengths are being lauded in this report. And this is the fact, despite the fact that the global environment continues to remain uncertain. There is a lot of volatility, a lot of uncertainty and ambiguity. The VUCA world, as it's called, VUCA, volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity. It couldn't be more true to the world today. But despite all of that, despite the trade tensions, despite the tariff tensions, the long-term growth story of India and the Indian economy remains strong, and that is something that is emerging from this report. And also the fact that India has been building its resilience and advancing its capabilities in critical technology. That is also making India well-placed to, move closer towards its Viksit Bharat aspirations. But then it also will mean that India will be the second largest economy by the year 2038 in terms of purchasing power parity. And for the long and short of it is that do not be worried about what is going on with India, Indian economy, Indian trade today, yesterday, last week, next week. These things will continue to keep happening because, let's face it, tariff tensions are not just India's alone. Tariff tensions are important for the global trade and global economy. We really don't know what will happen with all these higher tariffs to the U.S. economy per se. So all of this is just playing out at the moment. But if you take a long-term view, today we are in 2025, if you take a long-term view as to what will happen to the Indian economy over a 10-year period, that story remains strong. India is still projected to become the third largest economy in market exchange rate terms by the year 2028. That's just 3 years away. In 3 years' time, India will become the third largest economy and overtake Germany as well. That means just US and China are left above us. And by the time, another 10 years' time from then, from 2028 to 2038, in another 10 years' time, we'll overtake even China and become the second largest economy. But that won't be in terms of market exchange, but that'll be in terms of purchasing power parity.